I was only 19, and I believed in love more than anything else in this world. My name is Margaret Louise Carter, but everyone called me Maggie. Back then, I still wore flowers in my hair and dreamed of white lace dresses and happily ever afters. We lived in a small town outside Chattanooga. My father ran a hardware store, and my mother taught Sunday school. Life was simple, but it was good. Then he came into my life. His name was Thomas Ray Walker. Tall, charming, with a crooked grin that made my heart skip a beat. He wasn't like the boys in town. He read poetry, wrote me letters, and called me his angel from the hills. It started with dances and turned into midnight walks under the stars. I still remember the night he proposed, on a rainy August evening in the gazebo behind my family's house. I said yes with tears in my eyes. Everyone said we were rushing it, but I didn't care. I loved him. And love was enough, or so I thought. We set the date for November 4, 1962. I spent weeks sewing my own dress, threading hope into every stitch. Mama cried when she saw me in it. Daddy even smiled, his tough exterior softening just for a moment. Everything was perfect, until it wasn't. The sun rose gently that morning, as if even God knew it was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I had my hair in soft curls, my dress hanging by the window, glowing like a promise. My bridesmaids were laughing in the kitchen. The preacher had already arrived at the church. Guests filled the pews. I looked at the clock. 10 minutes past noon. Thomas was late. At first, I wasn't worried. Maybe he was stuck in traffic. Maybe he had to fix something. But the minutes kept ticking. Then someone whispered to my father at the church door. His face turned pale. I will never forget the moment Daddy walked back down the aisle, took my hand gently, and whispered, "He's not coming, baby." I couldn't breathe. I remember sinking into a chair, my dress puffing out around me like a forgotten dream. The guests left quietly, their eyes full of pity. The cake sat untouched. The band packed up without playing a single note. There was no letter. No phone call. Nothing. Just silence. Thomas was gone. He had packed up his things the night before. His landlady said he left before dawn, taking everything with him, even the picture of us on the mantel. No one had seen him since. It was as if the earth had swallowed him whole. The next few days were a blur. My mother tried to comfort me, but her words were soft and distant, like trying to hold water in my hands. My father turned cold, not out of cruelty, but because he didn't know how to carry my pain. The entire town seemed to talk about it. The girl who was left. The wedding that wasn't. Whispers followed me wherever I went, and I hated how right they were. I didn't leave my room for nearly 2 weeks. I sat in silence, staring at the dress that hung limply on the door. That dress, once filled with dreams, now seemed to mock me. The hardest part wasn't that he left. It was how he left me, without explanation, without dignity. I was humiliated. Some people said I was lucky, that I avoided a life of pain with a coward. But those words didn't heal. They only deepened the wound. I avoided church. I stopped going to the general store. I took long walks by the river just to escape the judging eyes. My mother tried to draw me back into life. She encouraged me to help with Sunday school, but I couldn't face the children's questions. "Why are you sad, Miss Maggie?" I had no answers. At night, I would lie in bed and wonder what I had done wrong. Had I pushed too hard for the wedding? Was I not pretty enough? Not enough? I lived in a fog of doubt and sorrow, waiting for a closure that never came. One morning, Mama placed a newspaper beside my plate at breakfast. There was a job opening at the diner downtown. "You need a change of scenery," she said. I went. Not because I wanted to, but because staying in that house felt like dying. The work was hard. My feet ached. But it kept my hands busy and my mind away from the echo of broken vows. And the women there, they were a force. strong, funny, and weathered by their own trials. Mary Ellen, a sharp-tongued waitress with a gentle heart, took me under her wing. She told me stories about her cheating ex-husband with such humor I couldn't help but laugh. "You got left at the altar? Girl, I wish I had been that lucky," she joked once. That was the first time I laughed in months. Slowly, piece by piece, I came back to myself. It was a crisp October morning in 1967. I was pouring coffee for an old man at booth 3 when the postman walked in with a letter addressed to me. The handwriting stopped me cold. It was his. Thomas. I took it home and stared at it for hours before I opened it. His words were careful, almost poetic. He said he'd joined the army, had gone to Europe, had seen horrors and wonders. But the guilt had followed him everywhere. "You were too good for me," he wrote. "I knew I couldn't give you the life you deserved. So I ran." He asked if I could ever forgive him. He asked if I would write him back. I read it again. Then I lit a match. The letter turned to ash in the sink. That chapter of my life had no more pages. Years passed. I stopped looking over my shoulder. I poured myself into work, into community, into quiet joys. Then Samuel Green walked into my life. A kind man. Widowed. A schoolteacher who loved old books and classic jazz. He came into the diner every Saturday, ordered the same thing, and left the biggest tips. He never tried to impress me. He just listened. One day, he asked me to walk with him by the river. And slowly, over months, he filled the spaces Thomas had left hollow. He didn't promise me forever. He promised me today. And every day after that, he chose me again. We married in a small backyard ceremony. No fanfare. No lace. Just honesty and steady love. My granddaughter, Emily, found the photo one spring afternoon. Me in my wedding dress. Alone. She was curious. She asked, "Grandma, who took this?" I sat her down and told her the whole story. Not to relive the pain, but to share the truth. I thought my life ended that day, I told her. But it had only just begun. I wanted her to know that heartbreak doesn't define you. How you heal does. In 2010, I visited Dallas for a church conference. I found his name on a gravestone in a quiet cemetery. Thomas Ray Walker. 1939 to 2008. No flowers. No visitors. Just a marker. I stood there for a while, my heart strangely still. I whispered a prayer. Not for him, but for the girl I was. Then I left a single lily. She had deserved her wedding. But what she got instead made her stronger. Now, as I sit on this porch in my twilight years, I often think back to that day in 1962. The pain, the silence, the shame. But I also remember the strength. The women who stood beside me. The love that came later. The life I built. You see, some promises are broken. But others are kept. And some of the strongest hearts are the ones that were once shattered. I was not the girl left at the altar. I was the woman who rose from it. And I would do it all again. Dear heart. You may have been abandoned, but you were never broken. The pain that once tried to define you became the fire that forged your strength. You rose from heartbreak with grace, learned to breathe again in silence, and found love not in a promise, but in presence. Your story is not one of loss, it's one of rebirth. You turned shame into wisdom, sorrow into courage, and silence into legacy. What was meant to destroy you became the very thing that made you unforgettable. Don't forget to comment and subscribe on this channel.